Hello students, in these slides we'll talk about the asexual reproduction of fungi. The reproduction is actually of two types in fungi. One is asexual reproduction and the other is sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is actually called vegetative or somatic reproduction as well because there is no involvement of karyogamy. There is no combination of different fungi are formed, different nuclei are formed in case of asexual reproduction. However, in case of sexual reproduction, it is characterized by the union of two nuclei followed by meiosis. So this is actually difference of asexual and sexual reproduction in fungi. Next, there are some terms which you must know to get into the details of these reproductions. For example, holocarpic. Holocarpic, it means holo mean whole, carpus mean fruit. In the formation of reproductive organs, either male or female organ, the entire thallus is converted into the one or more reproductive structures. So the somatic and reproductive phase do not occur together in the same individual. So that is called holocarpic. In other words, we can also define holocarpic as those fungi in which the whole thallus is converted into the reproductive structures, for example, into the spores. In case of eucarpic, eu mean good or perfect, and carpus mean fruit. The reproductive organs arise from only a portion of the thallus, while the remainder thallus continues its normal somatic activities. Eucarpic forms are more differentiated than the holocarpic forms. In other words, we can define eucarpic as the eucarpic fungi in which only a part of thallus is converted into the reproductive structures. So this is the difference between holocarpic and eucarpic fungi. So on the basis of thalli, we can differentiate these fungi into homothallic and heterothallic fungi. The homothallic fungi are also known as compatible fungi. Those fungi in which sexual reproduction takes place in single thallus. So it means these are self-fertile and self-fertilization takes place. Heterothallic, these are incompatible fungi. For example, those fungi in which thallus is self-sterile and each thallus cannot reproduce without the help of the other thallus. Here is some other differences between these homothallic and heterothallic fungi. For example, reproductive structures. In case of homothallic, both male and female reproductive structures occur in the same thallus. In case of heterothallic fungi, male and female reproductive structures occur in different thalli. Mating partner, in case of homothallic, that is not required, but in case of heterothallic, two compatible mating partners are required. Type of sexual reproduction, in case of homothallic, that mostly involves bisexual reproduction, and in case of heterothallic, that mostly involves unisexual reproduction. Type of fertilization, in case of homothallic, that is self-fertilization. In case of heterothallic, that is cross-fertilization. And examples are, in case of homothallic, mucor and aspergillus species, and in case of heterothallic, rhizopus and saccharomyces are the examples of these fungi. Then there are some fruiting bodies of these fungi. In case of asexual reproduction, these could be Basidia from Basidium mycetes and Sporangia from different fungi, and SI the singular of which is Ascus, that is mostly present in the ascomycetes and Conidia, that is also present in the asexual phases of the fungi. So we'll talk about these bodies one by one. What are Basidia? The Basidia are the microscopic spore-producing structures found on the reproductive bodies of the Basidium mycete fungi. Here you can see these Basidia. Basidia carries a lot of Basidiospores. The Basidiospore is a reproductive spore produced by the Basidium mycete fungi, and Basidiospores typically contain one haploid nucleus, that is the product of meiosis. This is the Basidium and these are the Basidiospores. This is Basidium and these are the Basidiospores. The examples of these fungi producing Basidiospores are mushrooms, rusts, and smuts. Sporangia, these are the fruiting bodies. These are sac-like structures in which the entire protoplasmic content are converted into the spores through the process of cleavage. And Sporangia contain several Sporangiospores, which are the spores produced within the sporangium. So here you can see these sporangia and so spores being produced inside the sporangia, and this is also the cartoon diagram of these sporangia. So next is the SI or Ascus. So that is the characteristic feature of ascomycetes. An ascus is a sac-like structure enclosing the ascospores. Different types of ascus are the fundamental features which are used in the classification of different ascomycetes. So, what are the ascospores? Ascospores are the sexual propagules of the ascomycetes. These are actually the sexual spores. They are critical for describing most of ascomycetes. Uh, in ascocarp forming ascomycetes, ascospores are only found in mature fruiting bodies. Here you can see this is ascocarp. There are different types of ascocarps like apothecium, pseudothecium, chlysosthecium. So this is an example of apothecium where there are different SI containing 8 ascospores. So you must remember that all the SI or ascus contain 8 ascospores. That is the characteristic feature of these ascomycetes. Here you can see there are 8 spores in each ascus. So what are Conidia? The asexual spores, reproductive spores usually produced at the tip or side of the hyphae or conidiophores. These spores detach when they are mature. Here you can see they're either top of the conidiophores or they're present on the sides of the conidiophores. So these are asexual spores. So asexual reproduction takes place through different processes like fragmentation, fission, and budding. Here you can see this is fragmentation, the division of soma or fungal body into different fragments, and then each of these fragments grows into a new individual. That is called fragmentation. In case of fission, that is also called binary fission. Fission of somatic cells into daughter cells, just like bacteria that takes place. Here you can see the fission process, that one cell divides into the two cells by following uh, binary fission. The budding mostly takes place in the yeasts. Budding of somatic cells spores, each bud produce a new individual. So that is main characteristics of the yeast fungi. So what are Sclerotia? They are hard resting bodies or compact masses of hyphae resistant to unfavorable environmental conditions, and they remain dormant for a longer period of time, and whenever the conditions are favorable, they germinate and they cause infection. How the production of spores takes place, each spore usually germinate to form a germ tube, and that germ tube grows into the mycelia. Mycelium is and then these mycelia produce special organs like antheridium, which are the male reproductive organs, and oogonium, which are female reproductive organs, which bear spore producing structures. The color of these spores may be haline, green, yellow, orange, and red, brown to black. There are different colors of the spores. Size of spores may be minute to large. Shape of the spores may be globose, oval to oblong, and needle to helical shape. There are other shapes of spores as well. So number of spores may be from one to many uh, on the basis of different species of the fungi. So what are different types of spores? So we have talked about some spores before. Uh, However, arthrospores have not been discussed. The arthrospores are somatic hyphae, may break up into component cells that behave as the spores. So these are called arthrospores. Here you can see the somatic hyphae. They break up from each other, and the component cells become the spores, and these spores are called arthrospores. Next is chlamydospores. If the cell becomes enveloped in a thick wall before separating from each other, or from other hyphal cells adjoining them, they are often called as chlamydospores. Here you can see these are the chlamydospores germinating from chlamydospore being developed from these hyphae. Conidia, we have already discussed about conidia. They are asexual spores produced at the tip or sides of the specialized hyphae known as conidiophores, and we also talked about sporangiophores, which are present on the sporangia. So, next slides, we'll talk about the sexual reproduction in fungi. I hope you like this video. Thank you very much.